Hello, and welcome back to Business Statistics. Today we're looking at multiple regressions, chapter 13. So in multiple regressions, y is the output normally and x is the input. So the multiple regressions formula involves finding the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. The formula we normally use is y equals beta sub 0 plus beta sub 1 x1 plus beta sub 2 x2 and so on, plus the error. Now you don't need to compute the formula manually because you can just run a regression test of the toolkit on Excel like we reviewed in previous chapters. A multiple regression model example is shown in a YouTube called Multiple Regressions in Excel by David Don that you might want to check out when doing the homework. Now the chapter then talks about the coefficient multiple determination known as R squared, which is the percentage variation from y. The adjusted R squared is adjusted to reflect the number of variables. So to do it in Excel, there's a good YouTube on that as well called Excel 2010 Coefficient of Determination by David Hayes. And that might be able to help you out when you're doing homework assignments on coefficient of determination. Now the book then looks at model building techniques. So there's 3 known model techniques that you want to become familiar with. One is forward selection, another one is backward elimination, and then there's stepwise regressions. Now there is a useful YouTube for each of these that you might want to check out when you're doing the homework. So stepwise regression in Excel by Majid Nabavi is a good one to check that technique. Then there's also a backward elimination YouTube called How to Use Excel to Do Backward Elimination by Dr. Jiang Jingxi. And finally, multiple regressions using forward selection methods YouTube by Dr. Todd Grande will teach you how to do multiple regressions in more detail. Now, finding the correlation and doing multiple regressions analysis is very useful, especially when you're looking at investments. So, for example, say Fidelity, your Fidelity account, you own $10 million in Apple stock, but JP Morgan had no Apple stock in your account. Then we would be okay because we would be diversified. However, if both funds had heavy correlation and both own, say, $10 million each in Samsung phones when Samsung had a big crash, that would have meant that we would have lost $20 million overnight. So again, regression analysis and correlation analysis is very useful in the workplace, and you will often run into it when you're at work doing analysis of data. Now, the last thing that the book talks about in chapter 13 is Cook's distance method, which basically compares the regression coefficient when the ith observation is removed. So similar to what David Hayes explained in his YouTube that I mentioned about multiple regressions, that YouTube will help you with the Cook's distance method as well. Keeping in mind that multiple regression models have what's called multi-collinear variables, where they're correlated to each other. So there is a useful YouTube on this as well called Collinearity Test in Excel by NUMXL. Hopefully that helps you, and we'll meet next time to tackle chapter 14. Have a good one.